Well, the next factor which will influence the business ethics is government rules regulations. Okay, now this will appear like legislation, but legislations are more related to individuals, whereas government rules and regulations are the policies which are devised by government for the organizations to run, for the companies to function. So that will act as business ethics for the companies. Some examples will make it clear. CSR we have been discussing in last 2-3 lectures, that it was not a mandatory thing till the time government made it mandatory in 2010. So ideally, when a company exists or when a business exists, it is because of the society, because of the customers you are existing. So government should not have made you to compulsorily do some kind of social activity and make a separate provision in an act for that matter. You should have been doing on your own. That is the point as far as government rules, regulations and business ethics are concerned. So why do government should make it compulsory to do the social activities? Otherwise it should have been treated as an ethics. But now it has become an act, so every company has to follow. But then ultimately the intention of it is to be ethical to the society, be ethical to your business practice, etc. Workplace product and safety statutory warnings. Yesterday I have given an example of workplace safety. Typically in the manufacturing companies, if you go, you will find there are a lot of safety instructions mentioned. So there are display boards available so that people will be aware that if you are walking, say, below the overhead crane, what precautions you should be taking. You should be wearing the helmet. You will find that on the construction site going on, you will find the people wearing those yellow helmets. Those are for the sake that if somebody drops in from the top, that helmet is sound enough that it will not be anything dangerous to your head. Your head will be protected because our brain should be protected. Helmet is again for the same purpose. So safety at the workplaces, safety at the construction sites, safety at the manufacturing places. Typically when the technology is going on so much advancing and more automated machines are coming up, you will find, if you have any time visited some of the manufacturing companies, you will find that the machine is automatically working. Earlier, in olden typical type of manufacturing industries, even still those are functioning, where the worker is standing in front of a machine and then he is working, doing some kind of operations on that machine. We call it as a production line, and then that keeps on happening. But nowadays, more automated machines have come up, which has increased the risk of the people working in front or with those machines. You know, technically or typically we call it as CNC machine. When in very olden days, when they were all mechanical or manually operated machines, then there was an advancement became, and the machines were called as NC, that is numerically controlled machine. Now every organization is having CNC machine, that is computerized numerically controlled machine. Any engineers in the class? No? Okay, so those machines are controlled by computerized. Means there is a software called as CAD/CAM, at least you might have heard the name. That is computer aided design and computer aided manufacturing. So all those automated machines require an input or data to be fed to that machine with the help of some software called as a CAD, and then accordingly the manufacturing will happen. This has gone still ahead, and now the manufacturing industries are using AI and robotics, artificial intelligence and robotics. Even automation is being used in the industries to a greater extent. Now as the technology is advancing, the things are becoming more and more complicated and more risky. So earlier when the worker used to be there standing in front of the machine, he used to close the machine, shut down the machine when he used to go to the lunch break. But nowadays I could say 24-hour manufacturing keeps on going on. Even if the worker is there present, if somebody is on the duty or not, the machines will keep on running automatically on its own. Those are the programmed machines with the help of computer. So there is more risk. You can imagine there is some machine which is cutting some piece of plywood or maybe piece of wood for furniture manufacturing. That machine is totally operating on its own. There is no manual interference. So the data is fed to the computer, that design is fed to the software called as CAD. That design will be fed to the machine, and the machine will start implementation according to the drawing which is there on the screen. Now when this is happening, Rather, nobody is allowed to go into the fence of the machine. So you will find that as a safety, wherever such kind of manufacturing is there with automated machines or maybe AI being used, the machines are fenced. Means there is a kind of a compound made with the help of some metallic equipments or metallic fencing. So you are not allowed to enter, and there will be very clearly mentioned, don't go beyond this line. If you go to a typical manufacturing plant, you will find there are bands of yellow color painted onto the floors. So that band will indicate the zone in which you are not supposed to enter, only authorized person will enter. Then there are spaces which are left blank or left vacant, that human beings should not encroach in those spaces. Only the material will be on material vans, or the internal transportation will follow through those particular bands. So this is only for the purpose of safety of the people. So fencing, then taking safety precautions, wearing safety shoes, then wearing safety helmets. Then if you go to the companies like boiler companies, boiler manufacturing company like Thermax, etc., where the temperature nearby region is somewhere around 60 degrees, 70 degrees, 80 degrees, even outside. So you are expected to specifically wear something called as a boiler suit. So these are all safety precautions you are supposed to take. Even if a CEO of a company comes and if he wants to have a supervision of the entire plant, he will also have to wear all those safety equipment. Safety shoes. The companies will not allow, even if you are a visitor or even if you are a CEO or even if the god comes from the top, then he will have to wear all those safety instruments, safety equipments. What we are trying to tell you by the business ethics is that becomes not as a rule and regulation, but it becomes an ethics of saving the lives of the people. If the person doesn't wear and something falls from the top, the person is likely to die. So the person's value of the life is very much important than rules and regulations. So rules and regulations not for the sake of you have made the rule and then you have to follow. It's not like that. So there is a purpose behind making a rule, as we have been always discussing about wearing a helmet or maybe following traffic rules and regulations, not talking on mobiles. Those are the rules which are made for individuals, but these are the rules which are made by the company where the places are likely to be at risk. And anybody who is passing by that site or maybe passing into that system, he is supposed to follow all the kind of security measures. So that has become a rule and people have to follow. So therefore, with reference to that, statutory warnings are being displayed, display boards are there, and those display boards are made more interesting. So those are shown in the form of some kind of cartoons and caricatures, and then he is thinking about his wife or lover and something falls on his head. So some such kind of displays are there, so that people would understand in a lighter way what that particular poster wants to tell you. So take care about the safety. But then this becomes the responsibility of that particular organization to make the people aware that this is for your own safety, this is not a rule. On one side, on paper it is a rule, but then why we have made that rule? For your own safety. So you have to follow. As I rightly said, even if a CEO of a company comes, whatever senior board of directors will also be coming there to visit the manufacturing premises, they all will have to wear the safety, maybe gears, as they say, safety shoes, safety hand gloves. There are some chemical manufacturing companies, then these pharmaceutical companies, they do have a lot of chemicals. So there are a lot of safety measures taken for these. Yesterday I have given an example of people working below the ground in the mines. So they have been given a lot of safety precautions for them. Again, the intention from the business perspective is not to make the people follow the rules, but make the people understand why the rules are made. So that is one of the factors which will influence the business ethics, government rules and regulations, not for the sake of rules and regulations, but to follow certain codes. The ethical codes of the company, established recognition, public image, goodwill. We talk about the companies who are very ethical companies, who follow all standardized practices. I don't remember whether in model number 1 I have given you the example of one company who is somewhere near Belgaum. They don't follow any bribery practices, any under table practices. Have I told you that example? The company's balance sheet, there are no creditors and no debtors. Have I told you? Yeah. So that is typically talking about the brand image or the public image of the company. So where you have to decide how much ethical. No company will decide to behave ethical, but then there are the people, again as we discussed yesterday, it is the culture of the organization is based on the people who are in that organization, not the machines. The machines, buildings, infrastructure, they do not have culture. Similarly, machines and infrastructures and building cannot be unethical. It is the human beings who can be unethical. So this preaching has to be given to the human beings with reference to the ethical codes which your company has designed and which your company will follow. So all this public image goodwill will come under that. Social pressures will also make you behave ethically. That video I will be showing it to you later. The two cases of two very famous companies of Maggie, then Cadbury, there were some issues with that company, you all are aware of that. That is again because of social pressure. Social pressure in the form of either society turning against your product, boycotting your product, then substandard products are being sold by you. So there are a lot of companies coming up. Then media bad mouth. Media will do a lot of bad mouth, and that is why our Indian media work for. So when it comes to negative publicity to be done by somebody, for somebody, about an individual person, about a politician, about a company, media is always on the forefront. And it is said, I am not very much sure, I don't want to make any official comment, but then it is said that media is all sold. In the sense that you want some news to be flashed on the media, you give a lot of money to the media and media will tell to the entire public whatever you want them to tell. With into quote unquote whether the truth is really there or not. Yes. So you may defame the competitors and you may give the statements against the competitor. I think political parties are using this very much effectively. But then again, I am not sure, rather I cannot make a very official comment whether that is really happening or not, but we all know the fact. Okay, so it is with reference to the social pressure, your news is being flashed about your product and people are having some kind of society turning against your product or talking bad mouth about your product, you will have to take care of it. You might have to come out with designing some new strategies for making the people understand that it was maybe by accident or it was happened by mistake. So we'll definitely try to recover it. I'll show you those videos later, which you already probably know. If you have a substandard product or services, I had one experience about this. This was not related to their business ethics, but then how a company can be ethical. There was one product which I had purchased some time back, which was a bathroom accessory, and then it was not functioning properly. I wrote a mail to that company, finding out their customer care email that there is some problem with this product. They said you will have to show us or send us the bill from where or which particular outlet you have purchased that particular product. I said fine, I have not kept it right now, but next time I will keep it. So next time I purchase a product, I kept the receipt of that bill, took a photograph, because the bills which you get in the markets, that bill will vanish after certain days. That ink is so weak that after say a month or so you won't be able to read anything on it. So I took a photograph very properly, 46 megapixel camera, so that I can read each and every minute detail. So again the same thing happened with the product, which was a bathroom accessory, as I said. I communicated with that company that this is the bill which I have purchased, this is the product, this is the difficulty, I maintain all the records. And then the company said they have sent me the proof that they have devised a policy which will make some kind of improvements by the R&D effort, so that that kind of problem will not arise again for the future. This is where the ethics of the company will be coming into the picture, that even a small customer, small in the sense, there might be some millions of customers using that particular product in bathrooms. So, but taking care about a complaint of one person from among those million people using the product, the company devises some kind of strategy. That is the thing which is talking about the business ethics the companies are following. So, with such kind of things are happening with companies, typically with the products being totally boycotted by the entire society, by the community, and then that news flashes on the television, etc. And then in general media, print media also. So the company has to devise the business policies or the business ethics which will not be creating any such kind of problem in the public, which will defame your product. Ethical climate industry much related to ethical codes, but here those were more related to goodwill. Here those are more related to market position and competitor strategy. Yesterday I discussed about competitor strategy. When you are advertising your product, you should not be defaming the product of your competitor anyway. I have given you the example of some detergent companies or some soap companies who always show some another soap which is comparatively inferior as compared to your product. So that is ideally shouldn't happen, because it is against the ethics of businesses. So ethical climate in the industry should be maintained, even if you are talking or even if you are competing with somebody, should not talk bad about it. Okay, now we have to make the classification of these factors into the factors internal and external. So you have to tell me which factor is internal, which factor is external. If you read the first one, personal code of ethics, that is, I have given you some examples. This comes under legislation, rules, regulations, external. Leadership, government rules and regulations, ethical code of the company. The company has to decide the ethical codes based on what image they want to create in the minds of the people. They have to decide. Social pressures, of course, external, and ethical climate of the industry will also be external, because this will be decided based on the market position, requirement from the market, requirement from the competitors, sustenance of the competition. So this will become external. Because of this, you will formulate the ethical codes of conduct. So that's why this will be classified the factors into internal and external factors of formulating the business ethics for your company. Okay, now this we will do after the break, because after the break usually you are in a drowsy position. So we'll do this exercise later so that you will remain awake. Okay, continuing with business ethics, some codes of conduct to be followed. All those, whatever I was talking, could be broadly compressed to 4 categories. One is we advocate for a responsible consumption. This is talking about your product and information of the product. While using your product, what care should be taken, what are the positive points of your product, what are the contents of your product, what is the expiry date of the product, what is the proper use of the product. When you are talking and telling to the customers, then we are following this particular code of conduct. What is the code? We advocate for responsible consumption. Any product if you purchase today, I am talking about a branded product per se, not the one which is purchased on a footpath. So branded product always comes up with some kind of instruction. Rather it is made by certain government rules and regulations. Specifically if you are purchasing say food items, even if you purchase that Lay's, what you got now? Lay's line hai kya hai? So if you take out a package, I won't eat, don't worry. Give it to me. See, when you see this package, fortunately it is the same example which I have followed. If you see the back side, there is a lot of information which you have never bothered to read. Sometimes. But the information which you are expected to read while purchasing any food item is its expiry date. Right? And probably you are expected to see that. If you are not seeing it, have a habit of seeing that. Then second thing which you must see, which you always see, is the price. Right? And rest all other things you may not see. But then every such kind of package will tell you what are the license. FSSAI is talking about food safety. So there is a separate government department which is taking care about the food manufactured or packed in this particular package is safe to eat during the time, manufacturing date, and sometimes they will simply mention manufactured in August 22, and then they will just below that they will write best before 6 months. So you can calculate, being the learned people. Then it also mentions about nutritional information. How much protein does this contain? How much energy does it generate? 533 calories you will gain by just eating this pack of 10 rupees, which you have to burn at the end of the day. So those people who are coming by train, they will anyways burn, walking from this place to the train station. Then how much amount of carbohydrate does it have? Total sugar content, added salt, added sodium, then total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, sodium, etc. So here this will give you information each gram. If this is say 10 grams, 22.5 gram. And nowadays they have started writing the price per gram also in the bracket. So so that you will come to know, you can calculate the price per kg, which is very much high. Lays का kg का calculate करो कितना होगा cost. So this is costing how much? 10 rupees for 22.5 gram. How much per kg? 10 rupees for 22.5 gram. How much per kg? How will you calculate? Is it a very difficult maths? 10 rupees for 22.5 kg. 5 gram. Sorry. 10 rupees for 22.5 grams. So how much? How many rupees per kg per 1000 grams? 5. Sure. करो ना कैलकुलेट approximately क्यों? It's simple cross multiplication. 10 for 22.5 gram, 10 rupees. 1000 gram how much? So 10 divided by 22.5. 1000 कैसे आएगा? 225 में कुछ 225 rupees आएगा. 225 rupees. How much? 444. 22.5 gram 10 rupees. 1000 rupees how much? अच्छा हाँ 444. ठीक है कितना 400. 444. 450. So 450 rupees a kg. Just imagine 450 rupees is a kg of this particular product. What is the rate at which you can purchase potato 1 kg?
20, 30.
Huh? So you can just imagine how much must be the profit margin. This must not be requiring more than 1 potato. Even lesser than that, half a potato. So just do the calculation from business perspective. Huh? So that is their packaging requirement. They have got certain codes. That code might be for vegetarian packing. Of course, Lay's is all, most of the products are vegetarian. Okay, come back. What we are talking about is any food packet which you see or which you consume has got all that information for the consumer. It becomes one of the business ethical codes. Specifically, I am talking about the food products that is applicable to all the products which you purchase. Suppose you purchase some electronic gadget, your handset when you purchase. So there is a big thick booklet which comes along with handset. How many of you read it? Not required. Okay, because it is only telling you how to use a handset. So all operations you do on the handset, there is a booklet which we call as a technical writing. And those technical writers have got a lot of payment in the industry for writing that book. You have to have a language also good and you have to have a technical knowledge as well. Both simultaneously, which is a very difficult thing to have. So they will guide you how that particular product is to be used, what are the features of the product, what is the guarantee, what does it contain, etc. Why they are trying to make the consumer aware how that product is to be consumed, is how that product is to be used. That is under the ethics of businesses. So all those, when we purchase the branded products, why do we purchase branded products? It's for the same reason. They will make you understand the product very thoroughly if you are not at all aware about the product. So that is called the code of conduct. We advocate for responsible consumption. We safeguard our company's assets. Company's assets means company's properties. So safeguarding is with reference to the earlier thing, how to use a particular machine, how to operate a particular machine. No worker will be allowed to stand in front of a machine if he does not have an experience working with that machine. So all those people will be given a training which we typically call as hands-on training, but also called as in-house training. So actually also called as demonstrative training. If some new machine comes, it is as simple as understanding driving and learning driving. So do you learn driving sitting in a room? It is just like learning swimming by listening to a lecture. It doesn't happen. So you have to actually do it, right? You have to actually sit on a driving seat. You have to understand gears. You have to understand clutch. Nowadays, though automated vehicles are coming, but it still has got a brake and accelerator. You must understand the function. You must understand take the judgment of steering wheel. This could be possible only when a training is given to you at actual. So when new machinery has been brought in by the companies replacing earlier machinery, no worker will be allowed to work on that machine unless he is given some kind of training. Even the systems which you will be using, old ERP old typical system they remove and they have installed an ERP. Initially you will definitely find it difficult to operate, difficult to go through any kind of a system because you were not aware everything was new. But then the specialty of these all ERP systems is that those are made very much user friendly. You would be able to understand very easily. That's the reason why I had given you the example of a handset. When you purchase, you don't need to read that information booklet how to operate a handset because it has become so much user friendly. Like all the products are made that way that all safety precautions are taken by the company to consume at the same time at the time of manufacturing or creating that particular product in the company. So they will take care about safety of the company's assets, and one of the biggest assets of any company is the human asset. And yesterday also I talked about it, today also I talked about it, that machineries, buildings, infrastructure, if it gets demolished, you can always construct it with putting in money. But if people are not happy, people are not engaged, people are not satisfied, then you really have to invest a lot of amount of money. Still you cannot guarantee that people will be with you. So from that perspective, safeguard companies' assets, human beings are also assets. So how do they take care about the human beings? We have seen in the last slide all the different kind of ethical patterns which companies will design, which will take care about individual safety, individuals' welfare and all those things. Welfare also I forgot to mention in the earlier slide. Welfare is something which is made compulsory by the act called as Factories Act. And then this Factories Act is typically applicable to most of the manufacturing industry. So they say that there are 6, as far as I remember, 42 to 50, no, the 8. There are 8 welfare measures which every manufacturing company has to compulsorily comply with. So if you are a manufacturing company, you have to provide a canteen facility, of course with 50 number of employees, which is, they need to provide very clean washrooms. So if you go to any company and see the washrooms, those are just like airport washrooms, because that is a provision under Factories Act, very clean washroom. Then or it's also called as washing places. Then restrooms are also supposed to be there. Then there has to be, amongst the 8 provisions, the last provision is there has to be a welfare officer. Now the moment something comes into the act and something comes as a law, the companies will follow that and they will appoint a welfare officer. There is another position called as a safety officer, which is mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to appoint on a full-time basis. What is the job of this safety officer, welfare officer? Just to see whether the company is following all the safety measures and providing all the welfare facilities which are mandatorily made by the Factories Act. Those are only 8. There is creche facility, means there are many women working in the industries, so they are bound to remain pregnant some or the other day, they are bound to deliver babies and they are supposed to be going on the leave. The government says that any lady who has delivered a child should get the leave. Earlier it was 90, now it has become 180 days. So 6 months you are liable, you means all the girls are liable to get the leaves for 6 months paid leave. Over and above that, the government has made one more facility. This leave which I was talking about for the women and girls is called as maternal leave. The government has made a facility for the parents or for the fathers also called as paternal leave. So if your wife gets delivered, you will get 15 days paid leave. That is a provision. Why? They are taking care about the employee related to the safety. That 180 days leave could be extended in the form of your earned leaves. So after delivery, a woman or a girl can remain at home for 1 year fully paid by the company. And that is by rule, every company will follow 180. But then going beyond the rule, there are facilities called as non-mandatory welfare facilities. Means which are there in the act, those 8 will definitely follow. But going beyond that, will follow non-statutory welfare measures, which are not statutory, which are not compulsory by rules and regulations, but as an individual company, we feel importance, we give importance to the human being. So we'll give a lot of facilities. Yesterday also I mentioned, you go to the videos of Google and Microsoft and all those companies. You cannot even imagine what kind of facilities they are providing. Even normal companies who are not known for such kind of welfare facilities, they will be providing welfare facilities to managers to the extent that they will be paying your newspaper allowance. If I want to polish my shoes, the company will pay for it. By washing my all clothes of my entire family, company will pay. Google is providing washing facilities to the employees. They can bring in the clothes of their entire family to the workplace. While going back, they will get it ironed properly, free of cost. For your charging station, you may have to pay all electrical vehicles. Your diesel and charging stations, all are free in the Google environment. Then they have got lot of places which are free. You can sit anywhere. You don't need to be sitting all the time in your cabin. You can sit wherever you want. You want to have an environmental or your own liking to do the work. So there are bean bags here. Then food is absolutely free to anybody for how much amount of time, whatever amount of time you eat. You can reschedule your timing of work at the workplaces. You can work from home for whatever number of days you want. There are companies in Pune, Mumbai who will say rather don't come to the company, work from home. And most of the IT companies are still working even after almost 3 years of COVID, 2.5 years of COVID, still working from home. Because that is saving a lot of amount of money on the companies on infrastructural facilities and electrification, air conditioning, transportation, a lot of amount is saved. So they will pay you. They have increased the work from home allowance. So if you work from home, you will get more allowance. If you work from home, your all internet packages and bills are paid by the company. So you take a Tata broadband facility of 100 GB per day or unlimited per day, company will pay. And that will benefit all your family members. It's not that you will be using your data only for yourself, or only for working with your company. My son is more into video editing, and also the other day he was saying, Baba, we have used 1000 GB in this month. I said that 999 only you have used, only 1 GB me and my wife have used. So all that bill, not in my case, but then most of the software company will pay those entire GB bill to the employees. Companies will be paying, and lot more. The list can be unending. I can take one day, full day session of what facilities people can provide, companies can provide. If we talk about welfare facilities by the Tata companies, many examples could be given. Again, I had listened to the session of one of the Tata General Manager HR. We had a 1 day session. What all non-statutory welfare Tatas provide. You know, they provide first of all lunch free, dinner free during your duty hours. Then if we take the example of Pune Tata Tata manufacturing plant, they have somewhere around 10,000 plus people employed there, workers. And all the workers, they take their breakfast, lunch and evening snacks, everything is free in the company campus. You can imagine 10,000 people, how many number of chapatis are required or rotis are required. On an average, even if everybody is consuming say 3 chapatis, 30,000 chapatis are required, right? Per day, which itself is a big task for the canteen people to probably prepare, because that has to be done only in that 1 hour lunch break. So what they have done, they have given a contract to the housewives of the workers. So if you are a worker working with a telco, you call your housewife. That means the housewife of that worker will be given a contract of say creating 100 chapatis a day and supply it to telco canteen. Per each chapati, that housewife will be paid per chapati. Suppose she is manufacturing say 300 chapatis in 1 day, she will be paid per chapati, maybe some 2 rupees, 3 rupees, whatever. Plus, she is allowed to keep 10 chapatis at her home for feeding their home. So no expenses of family food. Then contract is given to prepare sabjis and vegetables required for the entire workers. So that contract is also given to the housewife, so she can keep some sabji for the home. So they don't have to purchase anything as far as their food is concerned. Plus they will get lot of allowances. So many such things could be discussed, but for the want of time I am not discussing. Where we are talking about the company's assets, which is the most important asset is human resources. So they are taking care about human resources. That comes under the code of ethics, which every company has to think about, or most of the companies are doing it. We respect people and planet. This is respected, not related to the people discussed here. We are talking about the people who are customers outside the company, and the planet is this earth. So every company is having another code called as environmental codes, where they are thinking about the customer safety, which was a part here, as well as the customer safety in using that product, as well as the safety of the planet. So our product, our company, our manufacturing processes are such a way that they are not creating any danger to the environment. the gases released, the waste material which is generated, the non-recyclable material and its consumption, or maybe its incineration, whatever procedure they want to follow to keep the environment safety. So they are also giving importance to it, which is under the code called as environment code. And then we conduct business with integrity and fairness. So this is about talking about being very much honest to your policy, being very much honest to communicating to the features of the product, not fooling anybody, not fooling any of the customers. So there you are talking about integrity and fairness. So this itself is called as a code taken from some website. You can see this when I circulate to you. You can go through that website, so you'll get all more examples, probably more than what I'm telling you. The same things are based here. So these four are brought into three categories: compliance based, then value based, and then professional codes. So whatever I was telling you here, those are all categorized into three. So I want to explain. Then these codes could be again further, what I would say, categorized into. I will not explain this because this will be covered here. CLEAR, so that you can remember. C stands for compliance, L for leadership, E stands for engagement, A for alignment, R for resources. Now talking about the compliances which we have been discussing quite a long. Compliances is completing the mandatory requirements either by a local government or a state government or a central government or an environmental related world government in this. Well, not government but world norms as such. So when you are complying anything, it is ensuring your code is compliant with the relevant laws and regulations. So when you want to start with a company, as I have written here, so you need to have a shop act license. You need to have register yourself to GST, which earlier used to be Sales and Service Tax Department. Now it has become what it is called as GST. GST to form Goods and Services Tax. So sales and service, sales is replaced by goods and services as it is. So goods and service tax. So any company who is into any kind of business, they will have to pay GST. So there was that discussion yesterday happening that people were complaining. Some of the people who pay the taxes, they were complaining, why should we pay income tax also and GST also? And that was the question. So commerce people would think on this. Is this question correct or not? Why should we pay income tax also and GST also? There was a question raised by a lot of customers and there was a lot of rage created because of this question. Commerce people should answer me whether this question is correct. That is the first question. And then we will come to the answer. Is this question correct? Is this question logical? That somebody who is paying the taxes very regularly, income tax, he said that we are paying the taxes to the government, income tax. Why should we pay GST also? Huh? Whenever you go outside, whenever you eat, whenever you purchase a product, whenever you take services, you have to pay GST. So whether the question is correct or not?
The income tax is for income we earn and goods and services is for what we consume.
Correct. Very true. That is the answer given in that forward, and which is very much correct. Income tax is said to be direct tax and GST is said to be an indirect tax. Even if you don't pay income tax, you have to pay GST.
Yes.
Isn't it? Even if your income is not in the range of paying an income tax, you will still have to pay GST. Whatever you consume, you have to pay the GST. So GST is, as he has said, it is for the consumption, and income tax is what you make, what you gain. So there is no relation between the two. So this complaint itself is wrong, the question itself is wrong. So when we are paying income tax, you are paying income tax because you are in that bracket, because you are having that much amount of income, therefore you will have to pay. If you are not fitting in that bracket, still you have to pay the GST. Because wherever you go to the restaurant, you will get the bill along with GST, 2.5% SGST and 2.5% CGST. Central government and state government. So you have to pay that. Even if you are a beggar and if you want to purchase something, when you are purchasing, you will have to pay GST. It has nothing to do with your income. Whereas income tax is definitely something to do with your income. So if you go to that bracket of 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, then only you will have to pay. So income tax is direct tax, as they say. I am not a finance guy, but then still finance people can correct me. And GST is an indirect tax. which everybody is supposed to pay, which is for the purpose of the kind of facilities which the government is providing. Income tax, after all, what this taxation policy is for? Taxation is only for the purpose of improvement in a country. You pay road taxes, you pay toll. What is the purpose? Toll booths are not there in all the places. It is there on express highway. Why? You can come from Pune to Mumbai just in 2.5 hours. So that's why you need to pay. Road tax, you are running your entire vehicle on the roads of entire city, entire country. So you have to pay the road tax at the time of purchasing the vehicle. So again, that question itself, we are paying the road tax, why we have to pay the toll, is a wrong question. So there is something called as indirect tax and direct tax. There used to be separate 100 marks paper for finance people earlier. Indirect taxation, one paper, direct taxation, one paper. Now all clubbed together GST. Okay. What I am trying to tell you is that there are certain legal requirements which you have to fulfill. GST is one such legal requirement. Excise duties, manufacturing companies will have to pay. There used to be octroi post earlier. Now those don't exist. Then you will have to fill as a company different returns such as IT return, GST return, provident fund return after certain duration. GST you can you can file the return of GST after every month. You can file it quarterly. You can file it 6 monthly. You can file it annually. But you have to do it. IT returns, every company has to do it. GST, provident fund returns, there are certain forms, there are certain mandatory forms to be filled in. Nowadays, fortunately, everything has become online, so it has become very much easy. But earlier, still, you were expected to do it. That comes under compliance as a code, because you will have to follow the rules and regulations. Then few examples I have written here. So you should, all these things are there to avoid kind of frauds, then faulty things happening, then bribery, money laundering cases. There are many. India is a great country where we have got all such kind of money laundering cases. Our Indian government has to establish a separate department for that, ED, right, to find out all such kind of fraud cases. Then regulatory, as far as your data is concerned, I missed that part of data safety also in the earlier slide. So data safety is not a legal thing, but it is more of an ethical thing. One case I will be discussing with you after this, maybe whenever the slide comes. So how much data safety is important and how much it is ethical. So regulatory point of view, HR rules or regulations are there, labor laws I mentioned yesterday. Data safety, then health and safety, welfare, this we discussed today. So not as a rule and regulation, but compliance becomes an ethics. So if you are following certain rules and regulations which are made mandatory by the government, you are directly or indirectly trying to follow the business ethical codes. So though compliance is rule regulation which you have to mandatorily follow, but then if you are following it, you are following certain kind of business ethics. Then leadership is again coming under ethics. So highly is highlight of any transformation to the company leadership. We have discussed a lot in leadership in the earlier slides, so let's not again discuss the same. Engagement is employee engagement activities. Yesterday we started with this. So what kind of different employee engagement practices are done, which are nothing but the non-mandatory or non-mandatory, not compulsorily by the government, those activities of welfare that will lead to employee engagement activities. Say for a very simple example could be celebrating the birthdays of the employees, then giving the employee of the year award, giving free material, whatever you want to be in the company premise, you will be given free. So all those which is going beyond the rules and regulations, beyond laws and bylaws and acts. So whichever you are providing, that will help your employees to remain engaged with the company. There are many employee engagement activities which are taken care of. I remember in one of the idea offices, sometimes some years before, this TV show was very famous. That was a sumo fight. I don't know whether you've seen that TV show or not. You might have been a small child at that time. Sumo fight means there are typical people who are known as sumos in Japanese. They are Japanese people. They are very hefty people. You might have seen them in the advertisement. So the sumo fights used to be a very big game, just like WWF today. So just like the WWF is nowadays very famous. So that time sumo fight was very famous. So as an employee engagement activity, I don't unfortunately remember the names of those sumos. who were very famous on television at that time. In the entire world, they were very famous. So those sumos were actually called in one of the idea cellular offices, as an employee engagement activity. So everybody was keeping the photos with them with those kind of style like this. So it is only for the purpose of keeping the employees engaged. So that will also indirectly act as a motivation for the employees, and all the employee engagement activities are directed towards motivating the people. So many things are happening here. Like in one of the institution last week, I had attended a function. There some Marathi actors and actresses were invited. And these kind of things are happening in that institution after every 1 month and 1.5 months or 2 months. So people don't leave. Here next month koi Bollywood ka bhi aayega, and they have invited the people like that. Even few of the universities in Pune, they are inviting the people from government, some state ministers, then some chief ministers of different states. They have invited Prime Minister, they have invited Dalai Lama, they have invited Mother Teresa long back when she was alive. So all those kind of things will be simply for the purpose of motivating the people who are working in that organization. And that amounts to something called as employee engagement activities, which is not by rule. Employee engagement activities are not at all compulsory by any rule. But then you are doing it, I mean, whenever I say you, it is a company, you are doing it for the purpose of engaging the employee, and we had a long discussion last time. Alignment will be discussed in next slide. Resources, I'll also be discussing the case of Maggie and Cadbury tomorrow, or maybe in unit number 4. So resources is consider which resources are available to support, rewrite, rebrand and release your code. If you had, with reference to the earlier slide, if you have got some bad mouth or bad publicity in the media, it becomes your not only moral responsibility but your fiscal responsibility also to bring in your company, come out of that dirt, and your company should be again coming into the profit. So that's why I have written this Maggie and Cadbury. So what Cadbury case is done, so there was worm found. I don't know whether it was a mischief activity played by a competitor or what, but then they had to run revamp the entire advertising campaign. They had appointed Amitabh Bachchan as a celebrity for advertising. That the packaging is totally changed, and they have actually done. The packaging of Cadbury is what you see today, and packaging of Cadbury what was before the incident is totally changed. So they have to imbibe in the minds of each and every customer, which are small children and their parents. So almost the entire country they were supposed to imbibe that particular feature. Now the packaging is so much scientific that none of such thing will happen. Same thing has happened with Maggie. And there was somebody has complained there was some lead content in Maggie, and there was another chemical which were added, and it was proven when FSSAI tested in India. So we are talking about Maggie in India. So the FSSAI department, they tested it, it was found. So the company has to revamp again the packaging, they have to redo advertising, and they have invested crores of rupees to do that. What is this? This is called as rebranding or re-release of the code. So that you are telling to the community that this was just by an accident, this was just happened, we never intended to do so. So your intentions you need to communicate to the public, which is very difficult thing to do. Specifically when the media has hyped that particular case. So that comes under Kohlberg, which is called as a redesigning, redrafting or reassigning the codes, which comes under ethical codes. And this I will explain in next slide. How much time do we have? Okay. So we'll do it after the break.